Okay, they're predicting the Houston Texans record prediction. So looking at the roster, definitely a really young roster, probably bottom five roster, but they do have potential. Obviously, CJ Stroud is this starter. He didn't look good in his first preseason, but I think he'll get better as the year goes on. Offense, running backs are good with Pearson, Singletary. Wide receivers could be a lot better though. Nico and Robert Woods not that good, but they do have a lot of young people like Tank and Mechie. The offensive line is not the worst. They do have some good players like Tunsil and Shaq Mason on their offensive line. Their defense, though, needs work. DeMarco Ryans has his work cut out for him. I can't really see any superstars on their defense, even though Jimmy Ward is good, but they just don't have that many good players and a lot of young guys. So I don't see them doing particularly great this year. So you have your first game versus the Ravens. Ravens are an experienced team with a great defense, not an easy matchup for CJ Stroud's first start, and I think Ravens defense and offense will get the better of the Texans. I'm taking the Ravens here. Week two versus the Colts. Anthony Richardson just got announced a starter. I don't think Richardson's going to be that good this year, but this Colts do have a lot better players in a roster. They have better players and more continuity. So I'm gonna take the Colts on the first game. Then you have Denver versus Jacksonville. Houston does do well against Jacksonville. They did split last year, I believe, but Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, second year in Doug Peterson's system. Calvin Ridley back should easily dominate the Texans. Then you have Denver versus the Steelers. Steelers with Mike Tomlin, I think is too good of a coach. Is a very good coach, and it's definitely a trap game, especially with Texans getting a home field advantage. And I think the Steelers are going to fall for that trap. I'm going to take the Texans here, getting the upset. They have to get their first win eventually. Then you have Denver versus the Falcons. I don't think the Texans defense will be able to stop the Falcons' run game whatsoever. And Falcons defense has looked good so far during training camp and preseason. So I'm going to give the Falcons the edge here. Then you have them against the Saints. Similarly, Saints have a very good defense. Um, and Derek Carr is an experienced, good quarterback, especially with good wide receivers. I don't see the Texans stopping them and giving it to the Saints. Then you have them versus the Panthers. Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud, both coming off a bye. Panthers, I think, have a better defense with players like Chin and Brian Burns and all that. And I think the Panthers also have a better offense, so I'm gonna give it to the Panthers here. Then you have them versus the Buccaneers. I do think Buccaneers have much better skill position players, even though their Todd Bowles is kind of trash. They have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Ricard White. I think will be good. Baker Mayfield, I don't think is the worst quarterback, and their defense is still very good. And this one could be definitely will be close. I'm giving it to the Bucks here. Then you have a game versus the Bengals. Bengals are Super Bowl contenders. I do not see them falling for a trap game, so I'm giving it to the Bengals here, especially since Bengals have home field advantage. Then you have them versus the Cardinals. Cardinals are arguably the worst team in the league right now. Their defense, similar to the Texans, have absolutely nothing outside of Buda Baker, who I think will be traded by midseason. And offense, as long as they can stop James Conner, I'm going to give it to the Texans here. And Texans have home field advantage. Then you have them versus the Jaguars. Like I said, the Jaguars do struggle versus the Texans. It is a divisional rival, so I'm going to give it to the Texans here. Then you have them versus the Broncos. Texans, first of all, do have home field advantage, and the Broncos, not sure how well Russ is going to do. I think he will bounce back, and Broncos have a really tough defense. But I do think the Broncos is going to fall for the trap game, so I'm giving the Texans here. Then you have them versus the Jets. Jets just got Dalvin Cook. I think their team is way too talented, a very good defense, and Aaron Rodgers. They should not fall for the trap. Giving the Jets here. Then you have them versus the Titans. Derrick Henry should run all over the Texans. So I'm giving it to the Titans here, and I still think Titans have at least a decent defense. So I'm giving it to them. Then you have them versus the Browns. I just really hope everything says the Browns, but I really hope the Browns lose to the Texans. So I'm just taking the Texans here. I don't see the Titans sweeping the Texans this year, so I'm taking the split. Similarly, I don't see the Colts sweeping the Texans. Like I said in my earlier points, Titans aren't that much more talented, but they do have a few more skill position players, few more like superstar players. But I do think Texans at the end of the season will be much improved. CJ Stroud will be much improved. So I have the Texans splitting with the series. So Indianapolis, the Texans going 7-10, 3-3 in the division, 6-3 at home, and 1-7 away.